Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 33 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this long episode, we are going to work on producing clay bricks. Enjoy. Luckily, it's an easy thing to research. It's directly involved with that giant string of washing, where basically we wash for all of the products we can make. So, where we can take limestone from light mud water, clay from concentrated mud water, and sand from thin mud water. We take those three things. Now we have to cook the limestone into lime and get some free carbon dioxide out of it. But then once we get those three products, we can turn it into a clay brick, and then we can fire it up. And that will be how we get clay bricks, and we'll need that for building lots of buildings. So let's research that. I guess I'll just let the stack inserter go through its course since there's not too much left. Yeah, there's like no point in hooking any of that up. One thing we could do to save resources is just cut off steel production. Steel does take a bunch of resources, so that'll save a ton of iron by just stopping doing that and just let it run its course. Interesting. Looks like phosphorus is finally backed up. Yep. Well, that's what that looks like. It's been a while. Never actually seen it full before. Okay, so now it's just filling up on crushed stone. It would be nice to make a circuit network. It probably wouldn't take that much effort to research that. But for now, we'll do circuit network by hand. And just let that fill up. Here's another potential bottleneck. This machine isn't running all the time. The belt speed isn't quite high enough because the copper is taking up some of the spaces. Okay, cement is ready. So while we're working on that, let's go down the line and get the second tier of sorting buildings. It's kind of a lot of unnecessary stuff in the way here, but I guess it just builds up to it. This is going to take a little while to research, unfortunately. And going down this path will require some researching too, so it doesn't really save us much time. Alright, let's do sorting. So, Basic Chemistry 3. It basically unlocks a new, faster way to electrolyze water by using these electrodes, which you create and then can reuse, and you'll get some mineralized water as a byproduct when you wash them. Let's make some clay bricks. Which we have to cook, although, actually, kind of want to unlock those steel furnaces so we can make them easier and faster. So I'll build this setup assuming we're going to get access to the steel furnaces. So we need unburnt clay bricks, which requires a couple of assembling machines. That looks like cleaner ratio. Let's see, we need our lime made in a blast furnace. And I will start a new line here because we need to make our clay, sand, and limestone. Alright, so to make clay, we need our concentrated mud water. And our limestone requires light. And our wash sand requires thin. So 2.5, 4.2, 8.4. You should see how like these ratios aren't particularly nice or clean or anything. Now we have the actual quantities of things we need to make. So at the very bottom of the list is thin mud water. Which we need to make from very few washing plants. And we need to make light mud water right here. One washing plant. And then the concentrated mud water right here. And then we can follow the chain down. Right there. And then this comes from a pump. Okay, I think that's everything. So let's see. I'll try to explain why I did it that way. So first I started with the clay bricks, and I did all the things necessary to get just the things we are going to need to wash to make the clay bricks. So we need our clay, wash sand, and lime, but we need... That actually starts as limestone, so I put that cooking process in there. Which left us with clay, limestone, and wash sand, so then I put those individual things in there, and then it added how much mud water we would need for those things. So then I went to the bottom of the chain, and I started with thin mud water. I say we need this much. The reason why I started with that is because we need thicker amounts of water to get to the thin stuff. So you see it adds a little bit of light mud water to this next stage. So we need light mud water, both for thin mud water, but also to make the limestone. So then I did that there, went back out here, and then finally did the concentrated mud water. And we can check our math because our inputs and outputs look right. Input is, well, it's got some coal here, which would be using carbon, so we can do that. So carbon makes sense for fuel, and then water and viscous mud water is our inputs. And then output is clay bricks, which is what we're looking for. Carbon dioxide, which is free, which is great because we need it. And mud, which we can use for different processes. For one, we can send that mud down to the trees, so we need less of it. Or two, we could turn it into landfill. And just for the sake of having less belts, I think I will turn it into landfill. But that will take some research to get to, unless we can do it already. So there's more than one recipe for it. Yeah, there's a stone recipe, and then there's the mud recipe. Okay, so we need washing 2. Ah, this one, which is after landfill. Well, in that case, since that requires more research, I might just send it down then to get combined to make trees, make that easier. So now what kind of quantity of this stuff do we want? Like how many clay bricks are we going to want to make? Let's see, this setup is... well, there's really going to be no such thing as a clean ratio with this, because it's just kind of a bunch of everything. 7.5 sounds decent. I think we can make that work. So where should it happen? Well... Oh, there's no radar there. Well, if we're going to send the mud down here to get turned into soil, then we should probably do it in a similar area. Because as of right now, we're not actually going to be belting the clay bricks anymore. We're just going to be going there to pick them up to build stuff with. So actually, maybe right here ought to be a fine place to do it. And somewhat unexcitingly, I'm going to avoid hooking up all of our inserter machines until we actually have product to test them with. So let's start at the end of this process and move backwards. So we're going to need 4 steel furnaces, which we do not have. But we'll put stone furnaces in their place and pretend. So clay bricks and fuel will go in. And the fired bricks will come out. And let's put a loader on the end here to accept all of the output. Good enough. That looks pretty good. We'll need to pipe the fuel in right there, but then all the products will come in here and then get turned into bricks. And since that's butted up against there, let's move down a bit. So we need to do the blast furnace stuff. I'll worry about that in a bit. Let's go forward here with the mud water. So we need 2 into 2 into 1 into 1. Might actually take quite a bit of space to do this. Let's do it over here. So our heavy, concentrated, light, thin. And the pipes on this setup will interconnect. Because they are related. And then to make clay, we need to pull off of the concentrated mud water, which will be right here. Limestone will come off of here, and sand will come out of there. Now we finally have steel furnaces, twice as fast as the regular ones. So we can drop those in the design here. Actually, while I'm here, might as well replace everything else that uses it. Although, well, out of steel. That might have been a mistake. Oh well. Oh, can't replace everything then. No more steel. Okay, so we needed 9 machines to siphon off concentrated mud water. Okay. That complicated mess. Making clay. So now the moment of truth is there a way to hook up all of these via pipes? Because otherwise it's no good. Actually, that kind of works in a neat way. Fortunately, we can't walk through any of this. Along the outside can do all of the output. Luckily, there's no mud or anything to deal with there. So we need limestone and sand. Let's see. Limestone's going to have to be cooked in a furnace first. 4 furnaces, to be exact. I'm wondering about carbon dioxide here because we're going to be creating some free stuff. So we probably want a tank at this point. And a valve. So we'll make that the top-off valve. And that will be our carbon dioxide tank right there. That way we'll have some room later to pipe in our carbon dioxide. Whenever you have a byproduct, you always need to make sure there's room in the pipes for it. Ugh, running out of sapphire rather quickly. By the time we get this new efficient iron setup, sapphire speed is probably going to be too low to be of any use. Oh well. There is some other stuff we can do. We can, of course it will require going in here and killing lots of biters. But probably the nearest thing is this Givelite right here. 3.1 million. Ruthenium, rubite. Of the things that can create lots of iron. There was a patch that was down here that we could potentially go for. That might not be... It might be less of a big deal to get, because then it just has to come in there. We may want to go for that sapphire instead. Just a couple of biters, and then we just, like, move the wall down, like, to right here or something. That could work. Wouldn't be too much extra effort. So we have a plan. Okay, basic chemistry. We don't really need that right now. We just need to keep taking it down the chain here. Because we were trying to get the better kind of sorting. So that unlocks water treatment too. The faster water treatment plant, which is nice and we can make. But specifically, it unlocks the purification for wastewater. We are not dealing with much of that right now, but we will. But basically what you can do is you can clean the wastewater from various products into purified water, mineralized water, or saline water, and then some other byproduct. So we can get some sulfur from sulfuric wastewater, fluorite from fluoric wastewater, salt from caloric wastewater, and sodium nitrate from nitric wastewater. So that's a way of getting something back from those, rather than just using it in a clarifier and getting rid of it. Especially for sulfur. Like that's the way you get sulfur, is by cleaning it out of wastewater, basically. So this will be a nice technology to have, even though we don't need it right now. Alright, so for the limestone we need 5 washing plants, and it's going to pipe off of this connection right here. In a similar vein to how the other one was done. Where the water comes down through here. Or at least the mud water. And then regular water comes through here. Okay, then we're producing our lime, which goes around the machines to get picked up. Okay, water treatment. Looks like our bus is finally caught up, at least with the non-science related iron. In that case, I might want to just let it fill up. Oh, but it's going to take so long to fill all this up. I'm just going to cut it off right here. I just want the whole thing to fill up so we could actually pipe it into these inserters. But we have water treatment getting closer. Now slag processing. Finally something to do with all that slag. So unlocks filtration unit and crystallizer. The main use for this is to make mineral catalysts, which we make from mineral sludge. And we need to mix that with a combination of ores to get a pure ore output. So let's say we wanted iron. Well, right now we are sorting it where we get, for every 4 ore that goes in, we get 2 iron, 1 copper, and a slag. Well, if we go through this process, we have 4 ores go in, but they have to be 2 crushed sapphirite and 2 crushed givelite. But if we add the catalyst, we'll get 4 iron ores, so it turns our productivity to 100% for the ore that goes in. So it's very good in that sense. However, making the catalysts themselves can be kind of a tricky thing to do. Basically, we need slag. So all of that slag that we've been consuming and using, well, here's a very valuable alternative to just making bricks out of them. Is we mix them with sulfuric acid, which of course we'll need sulfur to make, and we'll need it in fairly large quantities. But we make slag slurry, and we then can filter that slag slurry with purified water and a coal filter, and then we will get our mineral sludge and sulfuric wastewater back, and we use that mineral sludge to make the catalyst. So with the sulfuric wastewater, we can wash it in a washing plant and get the sulfur back. So we could reuse some of that sulfur, but you don't get all of it back, so you still need to put some sulfur into this system for it to work properly. You can also use crushed stone to make slag slurry, but if you look at the ratio here, 5 slag will make 50 slurry, or 25 crushed stone will make 50 slurry. Well, a slag will only crush into 2 crushed stone. So in that sense, you shouldn't get rid of your slag just for the purpose of getting rid of it, or for crushing it, because the slag is actually more valuable as slag as compared to other uses. And another thing you can do, you can't really create slag out of nothing. You kind of can, but so an advantage, all the way up here, the base is getting too big. So up here, what we're doing with phosphorus is we're putting crushed stone in, and we're getting slag back, which is interesting. So if you look, we're putting 20 crushed stone in, which should give us 10 slag, but it's not. It's giving us 7. Now we're getting a phosphorus ore out of it. If you look back to the ratio here for making slag slurry, that if you're going to make slurry from stone, it's actually better first if you can turn it back into slag, even if it has to go through the phosphorus sorting first. So a better way in the future to set this up is to not recycle slag back to get crushed. So right here, we're making slag and then we're crushing slag and then throwing it back in. To save slag, what we should do is just pipe this down, come over here, and then go back into this. Instead of crushing it, we want to keep it as slag. For now, this setup is fine because we're not using the slag for anything, but it's something to keep in mind that later on we're going to want to change the logic of how this works, and we're pretty close to circuit network, so we're definitely going to need to integrate that stuff to make all of this work properly. And dealing with these byproducts, especially like the slurry and the slag and all of that, is probably one of the more complicated aspects of Angels as far as sorting ores and stuff goes. So it's also a little difficult because you can't start the process until you've got these catalysts in. So it's like you have to end up building a very large factory before even the smallest bits of resources will come out of it. So it's going to be a big jump to go into this, unfortunately. But there's also other uses for mineral sludge as well. You can turn it straight into ore if you'd rather have that. It just depends on how much you need. All these ores require the same amount of mineral sludge, but like silver in particular is a lot more difficult to create than iron, so it's kind of up to you on which way you want to dump it. But this is another good way of dumping slag and whatnot if you go through the whole process. But this is here because those mineral catalysts are required for the advanced ore refining, so we must research it. Okay, that's the output of those guys. I will worry about cooking them in a little bit. Let's just get the output of the final wash sand here, which we need 3 units. And sure, we'll put it right on the end. This won't create a bunch of saline water like the other setup did. So that won't be a problem. Oops, looks like we're still using some iron here. Probably should cut that off as well. Eventually this research is just going to stop, because I want to test our ability to make inserters. And then let's say the output can come, I don't know, down there somewhere. Okay. Hopefully it's starting to make a little sense here. It's just nuts. I won't argue that. It's just kind of stupid and crazy. But, okay. So let's do the cooking into lime right here. So to do that, we need 4 blast furnaces. Let's say the fuel will come in somewhere over there. Then they go in there to fill those. Then the output will be lime. Then lime and sand can mix up. And then that one can come through. Okay, let's get all of the inserters and everything in here. Okay, and actually I think I'm going to upgrade this to the faster belt, because this is exactly 7.5 items per second, but we have 9 machines, which isn't going to equally place on each side of the belt, so it might be easier just to have a yellow belt there. We have 2 halves of a machine that we need to connect into one. Let's see. But for now, looks like we're finally catching up on iron, because oh, look at that. It is actually catching up. Because I shut off steel and science. So finally, after that wait, let's see how well balanced this inserter setup is. Just when I'm like, okay, we're good. I'm like, nope, I need more resources. Let's consume a bunch of iron again. Now let's cover that up so it doesn't use up too much. Because I really want to make sure this works first. Alright, that side seems pretty good. Okay, so that isn't fast enough, so we need a stack inserter. Let's see, this is pointed the wrong way. There's always little bugs to fix. Oh, that uses the, this one from down here. Okay. Seems pretty good. It's just short on resources, as you would imagine. Okay, we're gonna have to hook steel back up. But the good news is all the inserters seem to work properly. It all has a good output. Can save a few inventory spaces. Making a blueprint book. Let's drop these in here. Let's kind of change their icon. Just to say 1, 2, and 3. These are just the temporary blueprints I use to move things around. So that ought to work good enough. Oh, let's see. So it's going to take up this much space. So probably should start it right around here. Okay, and then the second part of the setup is here. Which is a lot smaller, so it could probably go like this. Now we have a bit of belt foo to get all this hooked up correctly. Okay, we'll just go under there. That works. So the sand and limestone can go in there. Let's see, that's carbon as opposed to fuel. This is a fuel belt right here, so we can use the red belts to skip over distances that are too long for yellows. I'm going to cut off steel again. It's just taking up too much iron right now. Now we have to pipe this mud in. Split up right here, so probably something like this with an input priority on the left. Okay, mud is ready to go. So this whole thing should be ready to fire up. So let's disconnect some elements of it so we can make sure that it works properly. When we hook this up, a whole bunch of stuff is going to happen all at once. So let's see, let's make sure the water is good to go first. Okay, it's not connected there. Go down here. Alright. Time for that seafloor pump. A whole bunch of stuff should start happening here. So it looks like clay is mostly going. Sand is going. Let's see, well, that's not correct. There we go. Oh, but then this doesn't work right. Seems like this could stand to be faster. Mostly green lights, not up here though. At the end of the chain. Kind of. Seems mostly good. Let's make this a yellow. Seems to be operating alright. Now we're making lots of clay bricks. We'll just let that soldier tirelessly on. It's basically free resources. Free clay bricks we can use. And free mud and all that good stuff. Hey, we have 4 gardens now. Okay, looks like it caught up again. It appears like steel is very much the thing that's sucking up all of our resources right now. So let's get research turned back on. That's the end of this episode. On the next one, we are going to work on expanding our base and finding more iron. I'll see you later.